It is mock draft time. I am sure this is the 419th mock draft you have seen so far. But you know what? What's 420? Speaking of. So, with that being said, we are going to look at a brand new Cleveland Browns mock draft with trades, though, because I do believe the Browns are going to make some trades. Now, first, let's refresh everyone's memory and check out Cleveland's 2023 draft picks here. So in round 3, pick 74, pick 98, 111, 126, and so on and so forth. So the Browns, despite not having a first or second, still bring a lot to the table with 8 draft picks this year. Now, before we start and look at any picks I've made, I'm about 94% certain that the Browns are going to trade some of their picks away. I don't think they have 8 roster spots open, so they definitely don't want to just draft players just to have them get cut in August. And I think they might think ahead a little bit, knowing they don't have a ton of draft picks in 2024, or they might decide, let's go quality over quantity, let's bundle some picks together, and let's move forward, and let's just get 2 or 3 of our top guys and be happy with that. So with that, let's start this mock draft off with a trade that I made. I know everyone's going to be anxiously waiting for pick 74, but like last year, I've got the Browns moving back from their first pick in the draft. I made a trade with the Chargers. Now, here are the details of that trade. I've got the Browns and the Chargers swapping third-round picks this year. So Cleveland goes from 74 to 85. And because they moved back from 74 to 85, they pick up the Chargers' third-round pick next year, but LA also gets the Browns' fifth-round pick this year, one of their 2 fifth-round picks. So they net a future third, and they move back a couple spots, and they give up a 5th rounder. So after going back to pick 85, my selection for Cleveland is defensive lineman Zach Pickens out of South Carolina. At the Combine, he measured in at 6'3", 291 pounds. So very Andrew Berry-esque for defensive tackles he has drafted before. A 3-year starter at South Carolina. He was a big deal when the Gamecocks got him, actually. He was the 3rd highest ranked recruit to ever sign with the Gamecocks, just behind Jadeveon Clowney. Now, this to me feels like a Jim Schwartz caliber defensive tackle. He's going to want someone that has some pass rush abilities, but also is nasty in the run game. In 2022, for the Gamecocks, 42 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. A big-time recruit for South Carolina, was a bit underwhelming for USC, but still, he had some good seasons there, and he might not be a first-round pick, but he's still going to be a day 2 pick in my book. Now, where would he slot in on this defensive line? I don't know what the future with Perion Winfrey is, so if the Browns don't believe in him in the long term, and Jordan Elliott's probably not going to be here after this season, well, you might want to start thinking ahead and begin to develop a rotation for 2023 and 2024 with Pickens or some other early defensive lineman. Now, the Browns pick up a much-needed day 2 pick for 2024, and they add some great depth at the defensive line and don't just rely on Dalvin Tomlinson to be the only consistent guy. I'm also, I like the Pickens pick, but honestly, guys, I like the day 3 pick, the 3rd round pick for next season more. Because the Browns, they're not going to be big spenders in free agency next year. They need to amass more day 2 picks without a first rounder. So with that being said, what direction should the Browns be trading? Should they be going up or should they be going down, right? Trading up meaning moving closer to the first overall pick, or trading down, getting back to pick Mr. Irrelevant. Let me know which direction you'd rather see the Browns trade in. Moving on to our next pick here. This is Cleveland's own comp pick, number 98, and it is Jammie Robinson. I love this. 5'11", $191. He was a 3-year starter between South Carolina before transferring to Florida State. Now, he was FSU's defensive MVP and their leading tackler last season. The only knock that the big draft gurus have on him is his size. Well, I'm here to say for all guys that size does not always matter. And for Robinson, this is going to be a very fun pick. Last year for the Seminoles, 99 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 1 interception. He has great ball skills, and he also has a knack for making plays in the box. He is simply a field general and was all over the field in Tallahassee for the last 2 years. Robinson is flat out one of my favorite players in this draft class. If you've been a longtime subscriber, go back to our first ever mock draft, and I want to say I took Robinson in round 2 back when the Browns had their second round pick. He's a nasty run stopper. You've locked Juan Thornhill up for 3 seasons. If Grant Delpit is not the guy, not a bad time to either just add an extra safety to this room, get some good depth, and have the next Ronnie Harrison there, or move on from Delpit after next season, and Robinson can step into a bigger role with Juan Thornhill to his side. So that is my first 2 picks, and with the next pick, well, I made another trade. I couldn't help myself. Struck a deal with the Minnesota Vikings, and we moved back from pick 111 to 119. So moved back 8 spots. And because we moved back 8 spots, I garnished a future 4th-round pick from Minnesota, so adding more picks for early day 3 in 2024, and I burned a 2023 6th-round pick because who gives a shit about 6th-round picks? So with this pick at 119, I went wide receiver Parker Washington. 5'9", 204 pounds, multi-year starter at Penn State. Now, he primarily worked out of the slot, which is sort of the spot Cleveland does need some help with because Amari Cooper and DPJ, those are your outside boundary receivers. He's got great ball skills. He's also just a tough nut to crack as well. He doesn't have the best size. He doesn't have blazing speed for being a 5'9" guy. He's not one of those short but speed demon type players. Traits of David Bell, which I get wasn't an awesome rookie season, but I still am a believer in David Bell moving forward. Now, Parker Washington last year for the Nittany Lions, 611 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's also the cousin of Josh Dobbs, believe it or not. He's got a lot of family history in the NFL, so you know he's going to be getting a lot of good advice and a lot of good mentorship as he makes his way up the rank. So now the wide receiver room for Cleveland, it seems pretty full, right? Look at the 4 faces on screen. They are all locks to make this roster, I believe. David Bell is going to make it too. So if you got 5 guys there, Michael Woods getting injured probably opens up a roster spot. He was already kind of a bubble player anyway. But Jakeem Grant, Anthony Schwartz, Demetric Felton, add a rookie in there. You got 5 guys already somewhat locked into the 2023 roster. You got 2 more open spots max. You get some good competition. You draft Parker Washington in the 4th round. He's probably going to occupy one of those spots. I still think the Browns are going to add another wide receiver because Amari Cooper's not going to be around forever. And it's always good to keep adding more more explosive players on offense at the wide receiver position. Just start replanting new seeds at that spot. And Parker Washington in round 4, I like the value there. Now, before we get to the rest of my mock draft picks, make sure to subscribe before the NFL draft kicks off. Do yourself a favor because when the draft starts and the picks start getting made, you're going to want to know who these guys are. And we will have pick-by-pick analysis. So do future you a favor right now and subscribe today if you have not already. So to recap the picks we have made so far in case you forgot, we moved back not once but twice and landed Zach Pickens, Jammie Robinson, and then Parker Washington. We have netted some future draft picks. So now at pick 126 in round number 4, I'm going to go linebacker finally, and it is Henry To'oTo'o from Alabama, the 6'1", 227-pound linebacker. He was a 4-year starter in the SEC, 2 years in Knoxville, 2 years in Tuscaloosa, 2-time first-team All-SEC, and also a freshman All-American. He was extremely productive in all 4 years. 4-year starter, like I said, and 4 years, he was one of, if not the best players on his defense. Specifically in Alabama, the last 2 years, always available and always making plays. 205 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, and 6.5 sacks. Now, he doesn't have outstanding athleticism, believe it or not, which I know everyone loves to say everyone in the draft is an athletic freak, but he is my draft sleeper. He's got really great instincts. He always seems to find himself making a play. He always seems to find himself at the nose of the football. Great production over 4 years. In round 4, if I could add some more depth to this linebacker room, which desperately needs it, yeah, I'm going to cash in and go with the Polynesian Prince. In round 5, I went offensive line. Carter Warren, tackle from Pitt. 6'5", 311 pounds, a 4-year starter for the Panthers, primarily at left tackle. So for everyone watching that isn't a big Jed Wills fan, this could be a potential replacement down the road. Now, the Browns need to add some more depth to this offensive line, specifically at the tackle position. You've got James Hudson, but if you want to bring in a new swing tackle or start thinking post-Conklin or post-Wills potentially, maybe you look to Carter Warren. Now, PFF overall grades for him. The last 3 seasons, unfortunately, he got injured early in 2022, but he was a multi-year starter for the Panthers, and he posted really good scores, right? Over 27 games the last 3 years, 66.4, 70.7, 64.4. In round 4, round 5, you're not finding starters necessarily, but I like the upside for a big body left tackle like Carter Warren. We're going to get to more mock draft picks in just a moment, but first things first, the NFL draft, ladies and gentlemen, is just around the corner. So make sure you are rocking the official Cleveland Browns 2023 NFL draft hat by going to chatsports.com/Browns hat. It's in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, to refresh everyone's memories, through 5 picks, I went Zach Pickens, Jammie Robinson, Parker Washington, Henry To'oTo'o, and Carter Warren. So I see 3 defenders, 2 offensive players, and I netted 2 future picks as well. So with my last pick in this year's draft, after making some trades in round 7, let's add a running back, right? Let's add Mohamed Ibrahim from Minnesota, a player who scored 20 touchdowns. Now, he was with the Golden Gophers for a long time. He was a staple of the Big Ten. He had a bad Achilles injury a few seasons ago, but he always found himself in the midst of making big, great plays for the Golden Gophers. So in round 7, if you're not all that sold on Nick Chubb being here for the length of his contract, why not throw a dart at the board and pick a guy who put up 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns last year for Minnesota? So to recap my mock draft results here, I went Zach Pickens from South Carolina, Jammie Robinson, the safety from Florida State. I traded back twice, got Parker Washington, Henry To'oTo'o, Carter Warren, Mohamed Ibrahim, and then a future 3rd-round pick and a future 4th-round pick for the Browns. So the reason why I like my draft a lot here, and I'm going to give myself a B, is because I love picking up picks for Cleveland in 2024. I don't think the Browns are going to be as active in free agency next year as they were this year. This year, it feels like the Browns don't even need to show up to the draft. They've got their roster for 2023. That won't be the case next year. So next year, when the Browns don't have a 1st-round pick, they will need those 2nd and 3rd and 4th-round picks to be impact players and deliver year 1. So a good way to make sure that happens is spread your chips across the table. Don't just put it all on black. Play on the inside too. Play on the different numbers right there. That way, you feel like, well, if you got 4 picks in day 2 and early day 3, 4 picks between round 2, 3, and 4 or 5 picks, if 3 of those guys hit when we need them because we don't spend a ton in free agency, you're going to be feeling a lot more confident about this team next year.